Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Velo Podcast. My name is Mike Levy, and I spent the entire weekend not doing much, which doesn't make for very good podcast fodder. Thankfully, my fellow Velers, Alvin Holbrook and Josh Ross, did a couple of interesting and very different rides of their own on their days off. So if you were to go to the Velo homepage right now, like you should, you would see that Alvin signed himself up for a local time trial for some reason. Alvin, did you lose a bet, or was this like a peer pressure kind of thing? How did this come about?
So honestly, it was because, oh man, I hope they don't hear this. So I'm part of a local cycling team here, and the goal is to do a minimum of 4 races a year, basically. And effectively, I was looking at the list for the rest of the year. I was like, oh, I don't know if I have time to do this road race. I'm definitely going to get embarrassed at this road race. I wanted to do 2 more crits, but then that would put me right at the minimum, and I wanted some comfort in case I missed one. Mm-hmm. And so, see this time trial coming up this weekend. My friend Alex is just like, hey, I'm doing this. You should sign up for it so you can feel comfortable about doing 4 races this year. It was like, why not? Let's do it. And then after I signed up, I realized, oh, that's this weekend. I thought it was the weekend after. So great.
Yes. So ever the student, Alvin spent that time. He had about 48 hours leading up to this time trial. He spent that time testing a bunch of different wheels and tires and handlebars and positions. So today we're going to dig into what he learned from all that testing, how he tried to maximize his equipment, I guess, since you can't really add fitness in 48 hours. So we're going to learn all about that. And we're also going to talk about how his time trial race went. One thing we also learned this weekend is that Josh is really, really committed to this whole aero thing. He's so committed to cheating the wind. He didn't just ride his Colnago Y1RS test bike at the Swift Summit 200. That's in miles. So the Swift Summit is 328 kilometers, everybody. He also rode it 150 kilometers to the event the day before, and he rode it about 150 kilometers back home the day after. So that's like, Josh, I'm not very good at math, but that is a lot of kilometers, 610 of them. I just did it in my head real quick.
Yeah, a little bit, right about 600, and mixed surface too, I will say.
Mixed surface on that Colnago Y1RS endurance road bike. So,
quote unquote, yes.
Josh, I have the same question for you. Did you lose a bet? Why did you ride the Colnago in this crazy big ride thing you did?
I like to do hard things to feel alive.
Okay. It still would have been hard on a slightly more upright endurance road bike, but we're going to get into all of those decisions later on. We're going to talk about testing. We're going to talk about what it was like to spend so much time on that fancy bike, whether he wishes he rode something else. Of course, we're going to get into how the ride went as well. We're going to talk to him about what it was like to wear a time trial helmet for 24 hours.
That didn't happen.
I feel like you wake up and put a time trial helmet on.
Yeah,
maybe just an aero road helmet, maybe.
That POC helmet that's maybe not quite an actual time trial helmet. That way I can still move my head.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're going to do in this podcast. We're going to talk about Alvin's big ride or his big time trial. We're going to talk about Josh's big ass ride. But first, we do have one tech thing to hit on. We weren't going to talk about anything news wise here, but Alvin wants to talk about this really interesting Fara gravel bike that I think definitely deserves a mention. It's got tire clearance and a weird handlebar and all sorts of things. So tell us about it, Alvin.
Yeah, so I'll just go fast about it. I'll just go fast with it. So Fara, I believe it's a Norse brand. I'm not really sure. Something Northern European. You'll see people like in the Gravel Earth series, like Simon Nordfall Svensson on Fara gravel bikes, and you'll see really cool Panormal riders on these Fara gravel bikes occasionally, and they're not really common in the US. But I'll just hit the specs really quick. Good stuff for what I presume to be a racy gravel bike. That interests me at least. Shortish wheelbase, which I think Yeah, Levy's grimacing a little bit. Shortest wheelbase, 80 mil bottom bracket, drop across the sizes, 75-degree seat angle, 27.2 seat post, so you can do whatever setback you want with whatever post you want. If you're into the quick handling, it's got 65 mil trail across all sizes, which I think is really interesting. The bars are also right in that. They do kind of like the old Cervelo S5 style, where it's like a Y shape, but it's a 2-piece. So you can change the stem length. So there's 3 stems available. Each of them have 2 different measurements. So like on my bike, I would be able to switch between 80 or 90 mil length without changing the stem physically. Lightweight, under 1,000 grams, painted. Fender rack mounts all over the place, 3-pack fork mounts, which I care about. 57 mil tire clearance.
It's getting there.
So it fits a 2.25.
Does it have down tube storage?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I would say those are the pros, and you can get as narrow as like a 36 centimeter bar if you want it. That flares out to like a 40.
Okay.
Or 41.
Don't tell the UCI.
No.
Don't tell the UCI.
They do some interesting handlebar bags too, don't they? That like fit into that integrated thing. I have a bit of a bag fetish lately, so I saw that and I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they have bags that fit into that little thing right there. They also have their own system that they've developed, I believe, with Fidlock, the like magnetic locking mechanism company. They started off with like water bottles, but you can also get like a Fidlock buckle for your helmet, that type of thing. Anyways, it's compatible with all of those bags, which I don't know, for me is really appealing. I think those are good, interesting things. If you're into speed on gravel bikes, every model comes with a Schwalbe Thunderbird, which the lightest, thinnest mountain bike tire that happens to be lighter and thinner than most gravel bike tires out there. Weird stuff, 65 mil trail across all sizes, and then the modular cockpit, and then the price point, because it's, I think, $9,000 for a force build. Yeah.
Are these things available in the States? Do you know?
We're trying to figure it out. We're trying our best to get one to me, and I was like, yeah, just send me a frame set because I have parts I can build it with, and they're trying to figure out if they can send me a complete bike, which if they were selling stuff in North America regularly should be easier, but it's not.
I would think you'd want a complete bike just so you can get the thing and like just build it up and ride it. You know, you don't have to like swap a bunch of parts over, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do have some parts laying around that I could use. I also like, frankly, getting frame sets because then I can inspect the frame. Whereas like if I get the bike complete, and if it's fully built, unless I have a lot of time with the bike, I just don't have the bandwidth to take it apart.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And figure stuff out. So,
well, what I've liked about Fara bikes in the past is that they're racy gravel bikes, and racy gravel bikes make excellent winter bikes, and they often have fender mounts, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's
very
got fender
practical.
mounts.
Very practical, utilitarian.
But yeah, I mean, a seemingly very racy looking gravel bike that fits a 57 and has mounts.
Yeah. Interesting.
Really interests me. So stay tuned for a review, hopefully, because I've requested one. They know that I want one. And very, very intrigued by this bike.
Get one in a size large, Alvin, and then send it my way. It looks interesting. Well, let's talk about your time trial now that we've got through the new Fara gravel bike. Alvin, we covered why you signed up for this thing. The first thing I want to know is, can you tell me about the course? How long was it? And wind conditions? Did you have a lot of climbing? Is this a hard course?
No, I would say not. So I'll link the story. We'll link the story down below. That gives I have like an embed of what the course looks like. It's 10 miles out and back, which is
okay.
Like
that's classic. That's classic
exactly.
time trial.
Yeah. 10 miles out and back. Basically, it's flat for the first half of that out and back, and then the last like mile-ish, mile and a half, it's like a 4% grade. You go up, you go around this cone that someone tells you to turn around at, and then you go back down. So pretty straightforward. Glass smooth pavement compared to what I have here in the Bay Area. So you could really push the limits of how narrow of a tire you can go on.
Have you ever done a time trial before?
Not officially.
It's
Not
basically
officially.
an FTP test, I guess, right?
This one, yeah. I mean, all of them kind of are. You're just like, obviously, like for a longer time trial, you'll want to like strategize how you're going to go all out.
Yeah.
But for this,
pacing is important.
Yeah, exactly. This, like, I just knew I had to be gunning it from kilometer 1, basically.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, I guess I paced myself a little bit too much, even though I was gunning it, because I felt like I had more in the tank, which I probably shouldn't have.
Okay, interesting. You in your article, you mentioned that this is Merrick style. Can you describe that for me? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, it's Eddie Merckx. So instead of being on a time trial bike, you're on your road bike. You're not allowed to have like a time trial helmet. And then for this one specifically, you weren't allowed to have rims deeper than 60 millimeters on your bike. But they weren't really looking at it. Like, there are tons of people with the Revolve Rapide wheels, and those are deeper in the back than they are in the front. Those are over 60 mil. I didn't say anything.
Where was the UCI? What the
heck? I know. Yeah, I'm not a narc. I did, because this is also like the juniors, like state championships or regional championships or something. I like looked over at my friend and I like looked over at this like 12-year-old, and he was getting ready on his road bike. He was like on a trainer, and he was definitely wearing a time trial helmet. And it's like,
yes.
Should we tell them that he's on a time trial helmet? And it's like, I can't be a narc to like a 12-year-old. Like,
Alvin, you didn't warm up on a trainer at the start line?
No, I didn't.
Come on, my man.
I did ride around a little bit for like 15 minutes beforehand, but you know, the best pregame that you can have is caffeine, and
yes,
I chugged a bunch of coffee. So
yeah. So what you were doing here was basically you were using this for testing purposes. Leading up to this, you did a bunch of back-to-back testing with tires and wheels and handlebars. And the idea was you're just trying to optimize like your equipment for this time trial that was 2 days away. So I guess tell me the method that you used for testing and how you did it and basically how it all worked out.
Yeah, so I should mention before I go into it, like, I did not intend for this to be like a test bed for anything. It was just something I was going to go do on the weekend, which but I was like, crap, I want to go faster than I probably can right now. How am I going to do that? I can't improve my fitness. So, classic thing that people love to do, you buy upgrades, which is what I did. I'm fortunate to have some stuff here in the garage to test out and find the right combination. So as far as what I did something called the virtual elevation method, which was created by a guy named Dr. Robert Chung. So it's also called the Chung Method.
Okay.
There are a lot of other places that like go into further depth of what it is and how it works. In the original story, I even linked like the spreadsheet the PowerPoint to Robert Chung's like whole presentation on how and why it works. As well as like Silka has a great explanation, FitWorks has a great explanation, even Rule 28 have good explanations. But basically, Chung Method, what you do, you find a loop, ideally, that goes between 30 seconds and 5 minutes long. You find a loop where you don't need to hit the brakes. You make sure your bike has a power meter and a speed sensor, and then you go do the loops, basically. And then you plug in your data into a program called Golden Cheetah that feels like it was made for Windows 95 because it's freeware and it's admittedly pretty feels pretty complicated. But you plug your data in, and ideally you get your coefficient of rolling resistance info for your tires from a place like bicyclerollingresistance.com, which is what I did for one of the tires. Well, actually, no, I didn't do that for this. I did some other testing beforehand, and then made some assumptions. But yeah, you plug in that data, it gives you a coefficient of drag. And then from there, you do some algebra, and that gives you your power output that is required at a certain speed. And then you can make assumptions on time, which is what I was going for, ultimately.
Sounds like a fun Saturday afternoon, Alvin.
Dude, I mean, I was doing this on Friday. This was a Friday afternoon activity.
So when you're out there doing the Chung method, you need to keep your power steady, I assume?
No, you don't. That's the value of this. It's actually encouraged that you don't.
Okay, so you explain this. Go into a little bit more detail, because I don't think I'm picking up what you're putting down here.
Yeah. So it's the program Golden Cheetah is what's doing everything for you.
Okay.
So yeah, I won't go into the mechanics of how Golden Cheetah works and how you get your coefficient of drag for that. But the Chung method, basically, it's encouraged that you like vary your speeds, and vary your power, because that helps you find that coefficient of drag a little bit more easily in the charts.
Okay.
So long as you don't have to hit the brakes, like you don't have to be super consistent. You don't have to maintain a certain power output for the entire time.
Okay. If I wanted to go do this with a set of tires, let's say I've got 2 sets of tires, is this like does it take like an hour to go through 2 sets of tires? How much time does it take?
So the longest time, again, like the aforementioned places have better explanations for this. But in my experience doing this, like if you're testing tires, for example, the thing that takes the most time consuming part is actually switching the tires out.
Okay.
So I was doing 4, I believe in the story I said I was doing 4 laps per setup, which each lap took about 2 minutes for what I was doing, or 3 minutes for what I was doing. Yep. So that's 15 minutes per setup, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's not too involved then.
No. I mean, the most involved part is finding a place, because you can do like an out and back, or you can do something with a slight gradient that goes one direction up. But the easiest way to do it is a place where you can do laps, like an office park or a track and field track at a high school or something like that.
Okay. If you rode for longer, do you get better data? Would it be more accurate if you rode for longer or not?
In my experience, up to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I'm trying to remember the study. Like Dr. Chung, or Robert Chung, says, like, he's just like, yeah, you don't need to go more than 5 minutes, basically, per lap.
Interesting. Okay.
Because anything else is just like extraneous or whatever. But yeah, it is easier than what people think. It's just, I think the hardest part is having the gear to swap stuff out and test different things. And then also the desire to dig into Golden Cheetah, the program, to figure out how it all works, because there is a bit of a learning curve to that. Yeah. But that being said, like I also tested stuff where I didn't need to buy different gear. Like I tested different arm positions to figure out what was fastest. There's a story from a few years ago, from Ronan McLaughlin, now of Escape Collective, and it's an aero coach study. And they basically were at an outdoor velodrome going around, and they had a real-time aero sensor, but they found the results of different like hand positions on the bike. And I found that my Chung method stuff was pretty consistent actually with what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with positions before we get into tires and wheels, because I want to know, you had 2 or 3 sets of wheels, so I will want to know what was fastest and by how much. But I think the most interesting takeaway of your article, to get right to the end, is that it really did come down to position. So how much difference between the numbers, and what does that mean on a given course length?
Yeah. I'm trying to find it for my my study, or my write-up, but basically it was something like 14 watts at 25 miles an hour was the difference between hands on the hoods, straight arms, and hands on the hoods, arms parallel to the ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a real difference. It's a shocking difference. And it's at least from that Aero Coach study, having your arms parallel to the ground is basically just as fast as being in the drops.
Yeah. Which is basic. You're talking about puppy paws, basically.
No, not even puppy paws. It's hands on
No.
the top of the hoods, like where you would be if you're riding comfortably, like if you're getting a fit or something like that, but just moving your arms downward so that they're parallel.
Oh, interesting. Not even like a super chill position.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not super chill at all. And it can be quite hard to hold on depending on the bike and the fit.
Yeah.
So
but it is,
here's my question,
in my
then.
opinion, it is easier to hold than being in the drops.
Would you be better off if it's a difficult position to hold, forearms level to the ground? In my mind, you'd be better off putting a 5 or even 10 mil spacer under your stem, so you could be in that position for longer. That was one of my sort of takeaways from your article, is that position is everything. And I think most of us would be better served being in a realistic position that is fast, I guess you could say. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, that is... I'd like to hear I'd like to hear Josh's opinion on this too, for sure, especially because he just said straight to jail. But for me, there's a reason why my bars are slightly higher than what one might think for my height and my fitness, which is average, mediocre for a cyclist that rides a decent amount. I have my bars a little bit higher because I tend to ride. Well, I prefer to ride with a good bend in my arms.
Yeah.
And with my arms more parallel. And
let's find out what Josh thinks.
Yeah.
Straight to jail. Straight to jail with the spacers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as a result, you look at my bikes, my personal bikes, and you're like, oh, there's not as much saddle to bar drop as someone else. He must be riding really upright all the time. But then if you see me on the bike, you're like, oh, he has a lot of bend to his arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's talk about equipment then. What was the second biggest gain?
Oh, man, you're quizzing me. I believe the second biggest gain was the bars, shockingly. No, that was the biggest gain. The second biggest gain was the wheels.
The first biggest gain was the position. Second sounds like wheels, maybe?
The bars. So,
the bars.
Yeah, so I didn't neglect or I didn't include the arm position because that was something I was doing regardless. I was going to have my arms parallel or as close as I could to that. The bike I was using is Canyon Aero-nerd, which in the world of integrated bars is really interesting because you can change the stem height as well as the bar width and the bar shape without having to cut anything or disconnect any hoses or what have you. And I happen to have it, so that's Yeah. I have some qualms with the system long term, but right now for the last basically year I've had the bike, it's worked perfectly. Anyways, I have this classic handlebar which goes as narrow as a 37 centimeter, but I also have the Aero handlebar which flares out like a gravel bar, and then the reach is longer. It's 10 mil longer. And I was thinking, okay, Aero handlebar, 35 centimeter bar width. I'm going to be faster because my frontal area is just a little bit narrower and I can get a touch lower on the bike as well. And I did not find that to be the case, at least in my initial testing.
Why do you think that is? Is it a position that's costing more power or is it less aerodynamic?
I don't think it's less aerodynamic. If it is, I think it's relatively close here. Yeah. Theoretically it should be more aerodynamic, but that is one thing from I did 5 runs on each of them and it was pretty consistent, about 4 watts at 25 miles an hour.
Okay.
Or roughly the same CDA, which for me, I ended up even if they were, if all things were held equal, I was not going to need to put out any more power. I was just more comfortable with the classic handlebar setup.
Yeah.
It was easier for me to hold that arms parallel position, which that could frankly be a part of it, that I wasn't keeping my arms as parallel to the ground as I thought I was.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you tested some wheels. What were the fast wheels? What were the slow wheels? And what was the difference?
Yeah, so there was a difference of about 5 watts at 25 miles an hour, and the fastest wheels happen to be the least expensive ones by a multitude of at least 2.
Can you repeat that? How often does that happen?
Yeah, not super often. So I had I mean, you can look at them, but the fastest wheels in the testing that I was doing were these $1,300 Magine Chinese carbon wheels that I've had for the last like 9 months or so. Yeah, they're decently lightweight, 23 mil internal, hooked bead, 50 mil front, 58 rear, really thick carbon spokes.
Bladed thick carbon spokes.
Yes. So the ride is really stiff.
It's
like almost too stiff.
Well, you probably want like the most efficient, I guess what a better way to put it might be, you would be happy to give away some comfort for more aero in this situation, I assume.
Yeah. Also, it's 10 miles. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Whatever. You know,
suck it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that happened to be the fastest. In the study or in the thing, I mentioned like, hey, this Canyon Aero comes with these Zip 454 NSW wheels, which like should be decently fast. The bearings on these are pretty clapped because I've raced them in the rain a few times. I've ridden them in the rain a bunch. They're less than perfect. So could that be 3 watts difference? Perhaps. But I ended up going with the Magine wheels.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that very well could have been the case. I will mention that those Magine wheels, if I was doing like a road race or something like that, I have done a road race with them and they're pretty good. But for me, being relatively lightweight, the depth of those spokes is enough that I can feel crosswind stuff differences.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay. Pretty cool.
What about your aero socks and your speed suit and your shoe covers and your Darth Vader helmet? Did you test those things too, or did you just run them?
Can't use the Darth Vader helmet on this one.
Yeah.
But everything else.
I could have. So I don't actually have a speed suit here or like a one-piece like kit here. I've been pretty resistant, and then I wouldn't have been able to use it anyways because I was riding for a local team, and so I have a jersey and bibs. But if I ride for them again next year, I'll probably pick up a one-piece setup for myself.
Okay.
So that was consistent. I knew what helmet I wanted to use. I have a few more aero helmets here, but I really like the Scott Cadence Plus helmet that I'm using. It has you can get like these 3D printed plugs for the front that close some of the vents, which,
cool.
Does that make you faster? Maybe. 10 miles, who cares? Yeah. It's not going to be that hot. It was like, was it 65 degrees, like 17 degrees centigrade, like not very hot. So,
okay. So you are at the time trial. You are in your aero position. You've got your fast wheels and your fast tires. How did the day go? How did the race go?
So my calculation said that my time saved over 20 kilometers is going to be 20 seconds or something like that. And I finished 8th out of 17th in an open field. So there's pros all the way down to novices, and then I'm somewhere lower towards novices. And it didn't matter. I still would have finished 8th, even without all the optimizations.
So the time gaps were bigger than that.
Yeah, the time gap, I was closer to 7th in the top, frankly, if I can pat myself on the back, than towards the bottom. But it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have gotten 8th.
Do you feel like the aero testing that you did, like obviously it was interesting, but did it give you some confidence as well? Like maybe going into the event, like, oh, I'm in the fastest setup,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Like I knew, okay, now it's up to me to figure this out, and I can't blame anything else, basically. Right. Which like mentally does something, I think. It forces you to push a little bit more.
You go ahead, Josh.
Oh, so I have a very important question for you, Alvin. Not so much about the equipment, but did you push to the point where you thought you might throw up? Because I feel like that's an important part of time trialing.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, man. I didn't. Like
you probably still would have gotten 8th, but
yeah, I probably would have still gotten 8th, but I think I could have gotten closer. And yeah, I don't know. That was the thing. That was my biggest regret. Wasn't like doing all this testing or having the right gear necessarily, because I am very fortunate to have really good stuff here. I have my access to, but like, I could have pushed harder, which is the biggest thing.
How far off the winning time were you?
So the finishing time, I gotta pull this up. Let's see. Oh, I don't have the exact number.
That's a good question.
I was about 3 minutes off the leading person, who like is also category 4 like I am with points, but he is like insanely fast. Like he's this guy just like he's just on pure strength beating most people in
3 minutes and out of 3. What total time?
I think it was 24 minutes.
Yeah, that's hard to close.
yeah. I wouldn't. There's no chance I would have done that. But like, I don't know. Like, if you were to filter it into my category, I would have placed number 3. But there were only 6 people in our category.
Yeah. No, dude. Well, more importantly, your FTP went up 10%. You said, which I think is a massive victory.
Yeah, I got a notification and it was just like, yeah, your FTP's gone up, because I hadn't tested it in a while.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is a $50 FTP test. Like, and it was good to see like that my training that I have been doing, not time trial specific, but my training has made a difference.
Yeah, exactly. Are you going to do another one of these things? You had fun?
Not a time trial.
No. I didn't have that much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you guys want to do a time trial together, like some sort of sprint thing, I'm interested. Yeah, why not?
I love time trialing.
Yeah,
I've done it a lot. It's fun.
Yeah, when was the last one that you've done?
It's been probably, what year is it? 2025? Probably been 6 years. But I actually won a series, not by being fast, but by showing up and just doing a lot. It's important to say I didn't win, but yeah, it's consistency. Points matter.
Yeah, there you go.
But I did do a lot of time trials, and usually 20-mile distances, and there's a funness to them.
Yeah, there's a locking in to a certain pace and a certain like mode, and just getting her done. That is, I mean, I've never done a time trial. I've done like lots of FTP stuff and like worked hard for an hour, but I love the idea of a time trial. Maybe I should try one. I don't know if there are any around here. Not Squamish, but maybe Vancouver.
I think you would like it. Just like
probably
go like. It is pretty fun. I mean, it's similar to like when I grew up and I was riding fixed gear bikes all the time. Like there was one specific road in Sacramento, and you would do something called riding the wave, which is like if you're going above 26 miles an hour, you can hit all the green lights for like 20 blocks green wave or something like that. Yeah. And that required you to like lock in for myriad reasons, right? You're trying not to get hit by a car.
Yeah.
And I was riding a brakeless bike at the time, but anyways, like that was really fun, and this kind of brings you a similar amount of enjoyment, except there's not really any other cars on the road. You don't have to worry about someone crashing into you like a fellow cyclist. You just go, and that's pretty enjoyable. So
exactly.
Sign up for your local races, everyone, even if you don't think you're going to do well. It's fun. You get to talk with everyone.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of fun, Josh had some fun on the weekend.
Have some fun.
What is the Swift Summit 200?
Okay, so the Swift Summit is this local. It's in Lebanon, Oregon, which is like a small town. I don't know how far, about 100 miles south of Portland, and it's put on by this guy named Trevor, who just wanted to like provide community. It's a lot of community kind of thing. And this is actually the last year he's going to do it because I think his health is not doing so well, and it's a lot of work to put on. But I've done it before. I did it before as just the 200 mile. This time I did more than that. I was also significantly faster this time, and I did it on the
bike,
Colnago.
Josh.
I did it on the Colnago Y1RS, and it's mixed surface, I should say. It's like it's mostly road, but then there are some gnarly climbs of like 15, 18% with gravel in the middle. And then there's a fair bit of farm roads where you're going along on pavement at like 23 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden it changes to gravel for like a mile, and you're just like, and then and then it's back to road, and ride with GPS or other like things that use the cycle maps. They don't necessarily pick up those gravel because it just sort of changes, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Josh, you rode a gravel bike for this last year, right?
I have. In fact, both times I've done it in the past, I have ridden a gravel bike. Once was a Topstone with a lefty, and once was the Mog with 45 tires, the Zip tires.
Those sound like the ideal bikes for this thing, right?
Yeah, they are. Well, so especially last year when I was doing, so last year I tried to do the 500K version, which was, he just was like, hey, does anybody want to do this? And he invited a few crazy people, and including this guy, Alex Supertramp, who did a single speed last year, but generally does it and did it this year on a fixie.
Good for him.
Let's go.
But
Wow.
So, and in the night, especially when you're just like, it's not, you can't see the gravel coming. So all of a sudden you just move. Like, it was nice to have the bigger tires in that situation.
So for this ride, though, you picked the Colnago. You're a bike tester, so your garage, I'm sure, has too many bikes in it. 100%. Probably bikes that are very well suited to this particular ride. But you took the Colnago Y1RS. It's probably the sportiest bike at the Swift Summit. Why did you choose that thing?
So it's you two. It's your fault. But also, I realized it was the right thing to do. It was like, our job is to do things that are interesting. And
yes,
it's not so interesting to ride the right bike. It's a lot more interesting to ride the wrong bike. And this was 100% the wrong bike, but it also worked fine. So yeah, why did I choose the Colnago? Because you guys were like, wouldn't it be crazy if you did it on the Y1RS? And I was like, it actually would. And everybody wanted to know about that bike.
Peer pressure.
Anytime I stopped, anytime I was anywhere, everyone wanted to touch it, look at it, talk about it. So many questions.
Questions like, why are you riding it here?
There was online, a lot of the comments were like, oh my God, the clearance. Cause I ran 32s, which is the biggest that you can run on that bike.
Yeah.
And, there's some bikes where they say the clearance, you can fit this tire clearance, and then there's actually more room. And on this bike, it was like, no, they got out, like there was some calipers involved in this, and there's the bare minimum 4 millimeters, and it looks tight. So people wondered, like, what if you get gravel in there? Or what if you get mud? Or, I don't know, but whatever, it was fine.
Yeah, you sent me a photo of the front tire clearance you had a frame bag with some stuff in it, and the down tube strap, and you sent me a photo of the tire clearance between the down tube strap and the tire, and I think those were only 30s at the time.
Yeah, there was 28s on that.
Oh, that was a 28.
That was a 28.
There was a couple millimeters between the strap and the tire. Oh boy!
So
but
Alvin and I did some math. We pulled up. I ended up going with the Pirelli P0 tires, which we had looked up are good. I like to run Schwab tires, but there was no testing about the puncture resistance on them, and I was sort of worried. And so we went with the Pirelli P0, which I really like those tires too. And
which version?
The
RS, right?
The RS, the fast racy.
The fastest, raciest one.
Yeah. But we looked, they tell you the circumference or whatever. So we had looked and done some measurement to know that the 32 would fit. But the bag that I sent the picture of was the Apidera Aero bags, which I actually think would have made the bike faster, because that's what they're designed to do. They're wind tunnel tested. They close up the gap on the in the front of the frame. Yeah. But I couldn't. You can't take that You can't take that strap off that goes around the down tube, and there wasn't room with 32 to fit that strap. So I went with no bags.
Okay. What other changes did you make to the setup? Did you change anything gearing wise? Lights?
My God, I wish I had changed something gearing wise. But
That's why I asked you.
That was one of the hardest things about it. Those double-digit gravel climbs in the middle that I was talking about.
Yeah.
You can't stand, right? I'm running race road tires. So I was pushing a 48-35 and a 10-33.
Cadence of 7.
Yeah, cadence of 7, and you can't stand, so it was just like, don't fall over. But changes that I made, so I switched, there was no power meter on that bike, so I stuck with Garmin pedals, but I switched from Garmin road power pedals to Garmin SPD power pedals, so that I could get off and walk should I need to. I actually only ended up needing to walk for about a quarter mile of the steepest hill where I just couldn't hold traction. But it was nice.
You're probably so happy not to have your silly road shoes on walking for a quarter mile.
I would have worn $700 road shoes, and I don't want to walk up gravel in those.
The Remcos.
Yeah, I would have worn the Remcos, and you know what I would have done? Because I have been in this situation before. I would have taken the shoes off and walked in my socks.
Oh, God.
But it doesn't matter.
What?
I had...
What? When did you do
just
that?
cleats. Fuck them up. They're just
So,
cleats.
Yeah,
If
they're
I-
shoes. They're designed to be used.
So if you're walking on gravel in carbon road shoes, you're going to just tear up the bottom. And maybe you don't care, but I care. I don't like to do that.
Did you
And
consider
usually-
using 2-bolt shoes?
Well, that's what I did this time. Is I switched
Okay.
to 2-bolt shoes that I didn't have to. It's it's a calculation. The last time that I really did that, where I walked, where I took my shoes off and walked like that, it was a road ride, but there was construction and there was a bridge out. It was another 200-mile ride. I went to the beach and back on a Cannondale Super 6, and my feet were hurting. I was running some Giro shoes and they were sort of tight, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just take them off. I'm gonna walk across this gravel construction, and it actually was great. I just felt better. It was like nice to take a little bit of a break, but this was like in a way a race, so I didn't want to be doing that kind of thing.
What did you bring with you for supplies and stuff? How did you carry things on the bike? How much clothing did you have? All that shit.
Right. Well, before I get to that, let me just finish with the changes I made. The other thing I did was I added the Cadex AR bar tape, which is 4mm. And then I needed a light. And so rear light, no problem. I used the Wahoo rear light, which I just published a story about how the battery life is not holding up for me. But I wanted radar, and so I turned off the light and just left the radar on, and it did die before the end of the race, but it worked well enough. But up front, when I reviewed that Colnago, I complained heartily about the out front mount, and this is specifically why, because it's not like I had a bunch of time, same as Alvin. Like you guys were like, hey, you should do this on this crazy bike.
Classic.
And I was like, okay, I have a very short amount of time. I couldn't get Frames and Gear makes an out front mount for this bike that's great, but I couldn't get it in time. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Now, thankfully, I had reviewed another Colnago like a year ago, and past Josh had realized that the way Colnago does this is that they have an adapter basically that attaches to the handlebar, and then there's a GoPro mount there. Now, that's part of the problem, is that it's a single bolt that holds all the weight, which is stupid. However, because they do it that way, Trek also does it that way. Now, they have a whole better system so that you're not really depending on that. But one of the Trek out front mounts, I realized, would bolt to that Colnago mount. So I used that. And then I took a K-Edge, like a GoPro mount that goes underneath, and it fit onto the Trek piece. And then so I was able to make that all work, where I could not fit a 1000 series, so 1040 or 1050 Garmin, but I could fit the 840 solar, which was enough battery, and then I would use the what's the big brand, the metal lights that exposure lights. Yeah, I used an exposure light under that, and it all worked. The other thing I had to do was go to the hardware store, and Colnago uses this bolt to attach their out front mount that if you look at it wrong will strip. And it turns out the reason
It's
for
Italian.
that is, well, there's that, but also if you over tighten it, you'll break the plastic. So I swapped it for a bolt that wouldn't strip, but also I did initially break the adapter. Luckily I had to, and realized just don't tighten it so much. But it all worked. Everything, my light didn't move, everything. I had a light, I had what I needed. In the end, I didn't ride through the night, but we did start at 5 a.m. in the absolute pouring rain, so I needed lights.
You know, now that I've been doing some of this bike packing stuff in longer rides, half the fun is the prep. Half the fun is like trying to get all the shit on the bike the right way and like the right combination of bag and light for this specific ride that you're doing. I love that kind of stuff. Tinkering with things and making it work.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I do, but I will say that because somebody asked, there's this randoneering person that I know. She actually wrote our women's bib short buyer's guide. But I was asking her some questions about the Expedition Light. Just I wanted to double check because she had ridden with it more than through the night, and she's like, "Well, just bring this and bring that," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. This is not randoneering time. There's no." She's like, "Oh, what about bring this?" And I'm like, "No. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the absolute minimum that I think, and then it's either going to be fast or it's going to explode, and this is how it's going to go." But this time, everything went really well. I feel really like, my God, I picked things perfectly. And part of that is, I think when cycling brands, they make these jackets and they make these things that are amazing, this is the greatest rain jacket ever. They are thinking 50, 60 degrees in rain. They're not thinking, like, because I used to do a lot of testing where I would go out in December. It would be 40 degrees and raining for 8 hours. And I'd be like, your thing doesn't really work. And I just don't think that the companies are thinking that. But in this case, so I started with the LaCole Arc bib shorts. And that's maybe not an expected piece, but they're really nice. And I had done a bunch of testing. This is long distance. I definitely wanted pockets, cargo bibs. And those bibs didn't chafe anywhere, so I was happy with that situation. And then I went with a Pedal Ed Odyssey jersey, and this is kind of an important piece because that Pedal Ed jersey, it has extra pockets. It has pockets on the side, so it has the 3 in the back, and then it has pockets on the side. And it also has a pocket in the front, but I didn't end up using that. But those pockets on the side. So what I did with that was there is a pair of Ossos rain pants that are 3/4 length, and these are some of if you're riding in the winter, they pair with these bib tights that have neoprene on the bottom corner or the bottom quarter, and the system, it's like an $800 system when you add it all together. But these are the greatest. I'm gonna just say this is the absolute best rain bib tight bottom section thing I've ever experienced. But I always laughed at these 3/4 length things because I'm like, well, they say you can use them separately, but I'm like, when would you ever use them separately? This is when you use them separately. So I just used the bib shorts, but then I had those 3/4 length, and because they're hard shell, they pack really tight, and I was able to get them into one of the pockets on the jersey. And then I used a Rafa Gore-Tex rain jacket, and I was able to get that into another pocket on the jersey. And then I had the POC hydration vest, which I've been testing a bunch, and it has pockets on the front. So I basically commuted to and from it was 80 miles the first time down, and about 100 on the way back. And there are a few things that I had to carry that I didn't necessarily, I didn't take in the race, which is a charger for my phone and stuff, and cables, and
so you had to mooch off of people?
No. Sorry. I had everything. I didn't have to mooch anything.
Okay,
you're asking about food. So I brought.
Yeah, you definitely mooched there.
No. Well, so it was an event. So there was calm down. It was an event. So there were aid stations. Although the aid stations didn't end up having a whole lot, but it was enough.
Josh, I want to touch on one thing. it sounds like we would have. So, for everybody listening, my plan was originally to go with Josh, but I'm a soft boy and I saw the rain was coming, so I decided to not go. But
Levy.
I made of sugar. My plan, I had actually prepped my giant Propel and I had put my tail fin frame bag on it because when I pack for a ride like this, I don't want anything on me. I don't even want a multi-tool in my pocket if I can help it. No food, nothing on me. I want it all on the bike. So it sounds like we would have taken a very different approach had we shown up together, which would have been interesting.
It's true. I don't mind having stuff on me. I always carry my the pack that people would normally put under their saddle, the little tiny saddle bag with flat repair and stuff. I always keep that in a pot, like this little pouch that goes in my jersey, and then my phone and food I normally have. I don't always have the jacket and stuff, but and I would I'm not necessarily opposed to putting stuff on the bike. There's two things. One, a race bike, it's not for your luggage, first of all. This is just
wait. You're telling
They
me
look
the
pretty cool.
Y1RS doesn't have any threaded bosses on the forks? What the hell?
There's no. so there's that from a style perspective, as I don't like to put accoutrements on these bikes, but also I find that I would normally carry like frame bags or top tube bags, and it drives me nuts if they rub my knee, and I have to spread my knees a little bit so I don't hit I'd rather have it on my body.
Have you ever tried any tail fin stuff, Josh?
I have not, although I know the tail fin stuff works well and it goes on the back, so it would be totally out of the way. But I haven't needed that much space.
Fair enough. This podcast is not sponsored by Tailfin, everybody. I bought a whole whack of Tailfin stuff, and it is the probably single best, well thought out bike gear, umbrella reference, bike gear I've ever used in general. It is absolutely amazing. No knee rub. I'm really sensitive to that too. My knees are in a bit. So I definitely hate my knees rubbing, especially for 10, 20, 60 hours. Nobody wants that. Wears a hole through your knee.
Yeah.
And the Tailfin stuff is just... So yeah, anyways, Josh, for your adventures, look at Tailfin stuff. I'm
also not sponsored, but my favorite is Apodera.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
And I absolutely would have used their aero thing if it had fit. Their aero, I have been dreaming about using that, but it just didn't fit, and so I would have.
Right at my feet, actually, is a Tailfin extra large frame bag, a Tailfin aero pack, a Tailfin top tube bag, a carbon Tailfin rack, and 2 Tailfin panniers. So I'm slowly planning out an adventure of my own. So I'm putting all this shit together. Josh, how did the ride go?
So the ride went really well. So first of all, I rode down 80 miles, and that first day,
little warm up
because the storm. Just a warm up. But because the storm was running, this is the thing. I never think about these things. It's so obvious, but there was a storm blowing in, and so you know what that means.
Josh, stop. Why did you ride there actually before you actually get into this?
Yeah. This is true.
You're going to do a 360 kilometer ride. Could you not drive there or take the bus? Did you lose your license? Can you hitchhike? What happened?
This is good. I appreciate that you're giving me this opportunity to step up on this soapbox. If you want to ride somewhere, just ride there. I despise driving to the ride. I like to ride. I like to leave my house and I like to ride where I'm going. And if you're like, oh, but I want to ride over there, well, just ride there. Just do it.
This is a 360 kilometer ride you did. There would be no shame in driving a car to the start of a 360 kilometer ride. I think it's sick that you rode there, and even sicker that you rode back. How were you feeling the day after? Actually, we'll talk about the ride, but the ride home, how was that?
Okay, so before I get into that, let me just say the other reason that I did the ride there and back was that, so you and I had talked about doing this as a 500K. I had talked to Trevor, and he had given me a route. We were all set to go, and you ended up bailing, which, by the way, was smart because it rained hard that night. And so I was like, am I going to do this on my own? And my wife doesn't like me riding alone at night. And then on top of that, it was going to pour. It was going to be an atmospheric river. It was going to be terrible rain. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to ride. I'm not going to do this. But I still wanted, to me, a 200-ish miles, 360K-ish. Then people are going to be like, he's being ridiculous. But I don't find that hard anymore. It is like, it's not an easy day, but it is. No. If I didn't finish that, I would be shocked.
Yeah,
so
at this
I wanted to make it harder.
Just for like perspective, at this point, like, you know that you could ride at, if you ride this pace, you can do the whole thing. It's not that you're like sounding cocky or anything. It's like you've done these rides and you know that if you ride at this pace, you can do the whole thing.
Yeah, 200 miles. It's a day. It's like, sunrise to sunset. And I just know that I can do that. Yeah. And so what is left for me to do? A 500K, but I haven't managed to pull that off, and it wasn't going to happen this time. So I was like, okay, what makes it more interesting and harder and whatever? So I decided to ride there and back, and then that also fits into my ethos of why would I want to drive when I could ride? Yeah. Like, it's just,
Amazing.
But now to answer your question, the day after, so the day down was okay. I definitely felt it. So I rode down Friday, and then Saturday was the race, and I definitely did feel it, especially in the morning. Like, oof, legs are a little sore. But the ride back was brutal.
Yeah.
The ride back was just brutal. For one thing, I had asked a friend, James, if you're out there, thank you. Your route was amazing. The ride down the route was terrible because I had just plopped it down. Like, how do I get there? No thought to it. And it was a lot of riding on highways and no shoulder. It just was awful. And I had said, can you help me and give me a ride back? And he gave me a beautiful ride back, but it meant there was a little more climbing. It was a little longer. It was the kind of ride you would want to do on a Sunday. And instead it was not the kind of ride I wanted to do on a Sunday. I was like, oh God, I'm dying.
Were you on that? I glanced at your Strava. Were you on that beautiful twisty road that goes between Corvallis and the ocean?
I don't know. Was I? I have no idea.
I think you were. It's a beautiful road anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of it was a lot of there were, especially that Sunday, there were some really beautiful roads. But I didn't have any sense of where it was because I didn't design the route. So I was just follow this thing. Yeah. My computer's telling me.
Do you regret riding the Y1RS? It's not an endurance road bike. People don't think of it as being comfortable, but if I read your review, and you and I have talked about this in podcasts and other conversations, and we have talked about the bike being somewhat comfortable and forgiving relative for an aero road bike. So were you comfortable enough? How would you compare that comfort to riding a Synapse or something?
If I had been able to wave my magic wand, I would have changed the gearing. I would have wanted 1-to-1. Other than that, I have to say that I would not have chosen to do it this way if not for you guys suggesting it. But I'm so glad that I did, because I feel more, because I normally ride race bikes for long distance things. I did that, the Cannondale on that 200-mile ride. And I love doing the long rides on race bikes. But when there's gravel, I usually go, I'm going to do something else. And I was doing it on 32s. I was like, you know what? This is totally fine.
Yeah.
I was happy that I made that choice. And there's this thing that I have noticed it happened to me at Big Sugar. It happened to me it happens all the time. Big Sugar is a little shorter, but I'll use this Swift Summit as an example. So in the Swift Summit, you ride around in one valley, and then you start climbing on the ridge, and then you eventually get over to the other side of that ridge, and you're in the valley again, and it's about mile 130, right? And up until then, especially when we were in the mountains and that's like at 100 miles, I was struggling a little bit and things were feeling not so great. And I had met somebody, we were riding together, and he was ahead of me a lot of times, especially on the climbs. When we got down to those farm roads that are just straight and flat, and things come alive for me in those situations. And on the Y1 was so perfect for that. I just got down on the drops and I just cooked. I was like, just hold my wheel, buddy. Like, we're good.
Yeah. There has to be an element of how to say this. You've said this. You've described this quite well to me. Is that you sort of like these race bikes because they light a fire under your ass, right? So
Yeah.
in a day like this, I think there's something to be said for feeling enthusiastic at mile 130. Because you are on that bike. And do you think that the Y1RS made you feel that more than, something more upright would? Because that kind of sounds like the case. Like, it's not
it's
aero. It's, you know what I'm getting at? It's like that,
yeah,
racy.
Yeah.
It's
like,
yeah. Do you think
it's
that
like
helped?
you're riding an F1 car. Like, you're
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if it's so much like the Synapse is a good example because I probably would have felt some of that on the Synapse also. The Synapse is a really good bike. It's a racy endurance bike. But there have been bikes when I've been on where I'm just like, I don't like this does not feel exciting to me. And I would not have wanted to be in that situation at those miles. I loved being on the Colnago. It was like 130 to the end, really 130 to 203, and I passed like 3 people. The guy I was riding with held my wheel almost the entire time. Like, he would help me out when he could, but he was struggling at that point, and we just went, man. We just like ate those miles up. I loved it.
Man, isn't that a good feeling?
Yeah.
To be that deep into a ride and feel good and be moving at a good pace, it's like the reason I ride. It's like that sort of thing when you roll home after 10 hours and you roll in and you're not fucked. Like, you don't have to lay down, you feel good. So how wrecked were you at the end? Did you have to lay down?
So after the 200, so the second day, I wasn't so bad. No, I felt pretty good. After the third day, I was pretty damn wrecked. I didn't get saddle sores, but I did get like bruised, where it was like tough
Pressure.
to pressure. It was hard to like sit.
Yeah.
And by the time I got home, I was like, oh God, I'm not touching that bike again for a little while.
Josh, my man, I gotta get you on like a gravel bike more because you like to do these like big freaking days and big rides. Think of the places you could go, my man, if you weren't on that Y1RS, if you were on a
well, that's only because
I
up near you you have the distances. I have distances on road.
I don't.
Although, to be fair, a lot of the distances, they end up being like this, where like if you really wanted to optimize for 100% road, it ends up being difficult. But if you can have a little bit of gravel like connection pieces, then it's fine. And
So shouldn't an all-road bike be theoretically the right answer then? Is it just because it's not exciting?
It's not about right.
Yeah, it's not about right. You're right. If you want to optimize, then an all-road bike would have been the correct thing. But what if you didn't optimize and you just like sucked it up and...
So earlier, we were talking about Alvin's position and how sometimes it's better if the handlebars were 10 millimeters higher, because then maybe you could, like, the rider could be lower and more comfortable for longer in that lower position. So I'm sure you did not raise your handlebar for this 610 kilometer weekend you had on the Colnago. In hindsight, though, would you have wanted? No one's listening to this. You can just tell me in private. Would you have wanted the handlebars to be 5 or 10 mils higher? Just between us.
Yeah,
oh
just
my
between
gosh.
us.
Oh my
Here's
gosh.
the thing. Would 5 or 10 millimeters really have made a difference? I don't think so.
No.
Yes.
You were comfy.
Yeah, like I was. So I'll be because no one's listening. I'll be 100% honest. There is a spot right here that is like I'm pointing to, like it's like kind of between my shoulder blades on the inside of one shoulder blade on my left hand. It's always the left hand.
Yeah.
There's a spot that goes kind of numb, and well, first it goes painful, and then it goes numb, and it'll stay like that for a couple days, and so. But I don't think I could solve that with small, like,
Yeah.
I
Like
don't
your
think
back didn't hurt or anything like
no,
that?
my back, no, not at all.
Okay.
My shoulders get sore. I was a little, so the Colnago has 115 stem, I think. It's all one thing, so it's a little, but I believe it's considered 115. I would normally ride a 110, and I did feel a little bit stretched out on that. So my shoulders were a little sore, but also, again, it all goes back to I rode friggin' 600 kilometers. You don't think I would be sore on any bike? It just is.
Exactly. Yeah. I do agree with that.
So really quickly, for this extremely niche thing that hardly anyone's ever going to do, and if so, they're going to be on an all-road bike, like consumer advice, really quick, would you change anything? From what you...
If I'm giving no, here's the thing. I think I said this during our all-road test, which is that what are you optimizing for? You just said how niche this is and how few people are going to do it. And so that means this is like the American idea of like, well, once a year I go to Home Depot and I need some 2x4s. So therefore I drive an F-250. And they're like, no! Why? Just ride the Colnago, buy the Colnago, ride the race bike. And then if there's one or two things you do a year where it's not quite the right bike, just like, suck it up. You'll be all right.
Just so if I'm hearing this right, buy the $16,000 bike, guys. It's all right.
It doesn't have to be the $16,000
and then abuse
bike.
it. Yeah.
It could be, I saw somebody on a Canyon, mid-spec, maybe Ultegra Canyon Aero-ish bike. I don't remember which one it was. It was absolutely pouring rain when I was looking at it. But, that bike is probably $4,000 and also not the right bike for that ride, but perfect. Go buy that bike.
I will say that you do walk the talk, Josh. You talk the talk, but then you also walk it. So that's good.
That's good. I appreciate that. I like people to know that, like, I do the thing.
He would have been willing to walk in socks than destroy the bottoms of his carbon-soled $700 shoes. Good Lord. I'm so happy that you're here, Josh, I should say. I'm so happy that you're here, that you're done. You were thrashed on Monday when in our morning meeting.
Oh my God. Okay, so
you look like
I have
you just got out of a war.
I walk out on my street to take some pictures for a story that is, I think, coming out, but whatever. So I live under pine trees. There's a bunch of pine needles. I brought a leaf blower out. I blew off the thing. I took some pictures. I walked away. About 4 hours later, I go, where's that leaf blower? Yeah, gone.
Oh, man.
Oh, dang.
I just left it out there. I was so out of it on Monday.
Zombie mode
For sure.
Yeah. Well,
but it is true. I appreciate that you guys called that out. Is that, yes, we like to joke head aerodynamicist, and we like to joke. I like to joke about, tall socks, smooth legs, and just like the silly things that are just style. But I really do. I rode 600K on a crazy race bike with, tall socks, smooth legs.
are you going to write anything about this experience? Or are you done with the Colnago?
I'm gonna break down all the things that we just talked about, quite honestly. Like, how did I carry things? How did I pack everything? What did I choose? We've preempted it with the conversation, but
by the time Colnago USA gets this bike back, it's going to be just beat. 6 zillion miles on it.
It does. I like when I keep bikes for a short amount of time, I don't usually keep track of the miles. And I wish I had with this one because I have been riding it a lot and I think I put a lot of miles on it. I might go back through and try to figure it out.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Very cool, Josh. Very cool. I feel like you guys have both sort of lit a fire under my ass. I've had a lazy few weeks of short rides and no real big adventures. So I am itching to get out there now.
There's a summer lull for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the summer reset is what I needed. I find like every middle of August, I just like, oh my God, I'm tired. I need to lay down for 2 weeks before I start again.
Yeah, there's no problem.
I don't know how
to
tell you guys this. Well, not Alvin, but Mike. The season is ending, sir. That's why you're tired.
Oh man, you know what, Josh? if I had gone on that ride with you, I think I would still be on the ride. That was my energy level. I think I'd still be out there.
I don't know if that's true. You're usually faster than me, but maybe I would have pulled you in that back half.
I would have needed it for sure. Okay, guys, thanks for running me through Alvin. That was super interesting hearing about you trying to optimize your equipment for the time trial. Congratulations on the FTP lift as well. That's big news. Headline news. Josh, that was an absolutely ridiculous ride, and I am 50% bummed I didn't go with you, and 100% very happy I didn't go with you. So everybody that's been here for this podcast, thanks for listening to Josh and Alva's adventures. It's been good. Make sure to go to the homepage. You could read Alvin's article about his time trial optimization, and eventually, maybe this week, maybe next week, you could read Josh's article about riding 1,000,000 kilometers on the Colnago Y1RS. For no good reason besides the fact that he hates himself, I think.
That's what it sounds like.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.